Hi guys, this is part 2 of factoring where the leading coefficient is not 1. So last week we started factoring and this week we're going to continue it. So a little bit of review, you guys need to know that these letters A, B, and C, these are coefficients. When we're talking about the leading coefficient, we're talking about this coefficient A. Last week in the video and in your work in IXL, all of these guys were 1, or meaning there was no number in front of the x squared. This week, we're going to factor more complex ones where the number in front is not 1. Okay, so we'll get right into it. Again, the method that we're going to be using is what we call the X box. Okay, last week we didn't use the box much because those problems are easier where the leading coefficient is 1. This week it is not. All right, so here's our first example. All right, so remember we start with this x. Up here is a times c, and down here it is b. So the leading coefficient, or a, this is a, this is b, and this is c. Okay. So the first one, a times c, gets us 22. And then the b is positive 13. Remember, don't forget your signs. Okay? So we need two numbers that multiply to get us 22, but add to get us 13. Okay? So I like to make a t-chart here. Okay, 22. So I just like to go through the factors of 22. What two numbers multiply to get me 22? Always start with 1, 1 and 22. Can these guys add and get me 13? The answer is no. 2 and 11. Can these guys add or subtract to get me 13? The answer is yes. If they are both positive, 2 and 11 will get me to 13. Now, really what's actually going on is this up here should be 22x squared and this should be 13x. And what should be here should be a 2x and an 11x. But we just assume those, so we don't have to always write those x's, okay? So we really just need this 2 and this 11. So this is where the box comes in. So we've been doing box for a while. So in this first box goes our a term. Let me erase this. Let me make it bigger so you guys can see, because this is the first one here. So my a term goes in here, and my c term goes in here. Okay, again, this is my a term, and this is my c term. Okay. Let me show you what happens. So a term is 2x squared, and my c term is 11. These two that I circled right here, these guys go into the other two boxes. So 2x will go here, 11x will go here. Now it does not matter where you put what, okay? It doesn't matter where you put what. Okay, so when we were multiplying binomials, we wrote the numbers on the outside over here, okay? And then we multiplied into the box and we simplified. Now we're gonna factor, okay? So what can I factor? Let's just go through this column right here. Okay, so what can I factor out of here? What do they have in common? They have a 2 and an x in common. Now it just becomes a puzzle. What times, okay, what times this 2x is going to get me 2x squared? And x will. X times 2x gets me 2x squared. Now, what times x is going to get me 11x? And this is going to be 11. And essentially here, what times 11 is going to get me 11? 1. Then I can double check. Is 2x times 1 equal to 2x right here? These guys coming down here. The answer is yes. So all the parts of our box are complete now. And what we have written on the outside, signs included, Okay, these guys are my answers. So the factored form of our first problem is 2x plus 11 times x plus 1. Okay, and that's our Xbox method here. Okay, so this is the first problem. Okay, we'll do a few more here. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, again, this is my A, this is my B, and this is my C here. Okay, so we start with it. The A times C, that's multiplication. B down here, this is going to be addition. So 5 times -2 gets me -10. Down on the bottom, B is -3. Okay, so I need two numbers that multiply to give me -10, multiply to give me -10, but add to get me 3. So I'm going to create a t-table here. So I'm just going to start with 1 times 10. One of them is going to have to be negative because the value we're looking for is -10. Can these guys add or subtract to get us -3? The answer is no. Next one is 2 and 5. Can 2 and 5 add or subtract to get me -3? Yes. If it was 2 minus 5, it can get me -3. So that's what goes into these guys on the side here. Ultimately, remember, these guys do have x's here. All right, so again, I'm going to draw a big box. And this is why it's the X box. Again, this is where A goes, and this is where C goes. A was what? 5x squared, that's my A term. My C term was -2. Okay. Now, the 2x and the -5x, it doesn't matter where they go. I'll put the -5x here and the 2x here. Okay. So we can factor out any which way first. So we can factor out this way. So what can divide into both of these? The only thing that's going to work is x. There's no number that's common. So once I have one, it becomes easy. Then it just becomes a puzzle as to this times whatever is here is going to get me 5x squared. So that means this must be 5x, because 5x times x gets me 5x squared. What times 5x is going to get me -5x? That means this must be a what? A -1. What times -1 is going to get me a -2? A 2 is going to. Then I can double check. Is 2 times this x 2x? And the answer is yes. So then now my answer is going to be 5x plus 2 and x minus 1. That gets me that answer. Okay. At any time, if you need to pause the video so you can get to see how it needs to work out, just stop it, work through it, and you guys should be okay here. Okay, third example. 6x squared minus 11x is 4. Let's start with the x. And again, this is A times C. This is going to be multiplication. And down here is B. This is addition here. So 6 times 4 gets me 24. The -11 will come down here. So I need two numbers that multiply together to get me 24, but add up to get me -11. Okay, so it's a positive 24, so 1 times 24. This can't add up to get me -11, or can they subtract? Okay, 2 and 12. This also cannot get me, so this one doesn't work, this one doesn't work. That gets me 10 or -10. The next number would be 3 times 8. 3 times 8 can add up and get me 11, but both of these guys would have to be negative. for them to add up to become negative 11. And negative 3 times negative 8 does get me positive 24. So the 3x goes here, and the 8 will go there. Remember, we don't always have to write it, but there are x's here. Okay, which now leads us to our box. Again, our a term will go here, our c term will go here. So 6x squared, positive 4. Now these guys go into our diagonals, and it doesn't matter where. I'll put the negative 3x here, and the negative 8x here. Okay, so now I can see what can I pull out. Let's factor going up on the first column. So what do both of these guys have in common? They can both be divided by 3 and a x. So now I just need to work the puzzle. What times 3x is going to get me 6x squared? And that is going to be 2x. Okay. What times 3x is going to get me negative 3x? Negative 1. What times 2x, going all the way to the right here, is going to get me negative 8x. And that's going to be a negative 4. And the last thing I can check, does negative 4 times negative 1 get me positive 4? The answer is yes. Okay. So that gets me my final answer. I just write down what's on the outside of the boxes. 3x minus 4 times what? 2x minus 1. This is my final answer. Okay, one more problem. And hopefully these will be enough. If you have any questions, ask and on Schoology, and I can help you guys out. Okay, our last problem, 3x squared plus 2x minus 8. Okay, so we start. Remember again, this is my a, this is my b, this is my c. A times c, this is negative 24. This is positive 2. Negative 24, I need two numbers that multiply to get me negative 24, but add, okay, to get me 2. I just go down the list, 1 and 24, no, that doesn't add or subtract to get me 2. 2 and 12, no. 3 and 8, no. 4 and 6, yes, 4 and 6 can get me 2. If it was 6 minus 4 will get me positive 2. So negative 4 will go here, positive 6 goes here. And then I can have my box. Again, a goes in here, 3x squared. My c goes in here, negative 8. And remember these guys, again, we need to, when we write it into the box, needs to have an x. I'll put the 6x here and the negative 4x here. Okay. I think the easiest one is to just factor up. It looks like I could factor a 3 and an x out. So what times 3x is going to get me 3x squared? X times 3x will. What times 3x here will get me this 6x down here? I just need to multiply that by 2. And then I can check what times 2 is going to get me negative 8. Negative 4 times positive 2 will get me negative 8. Then I can just check the last one. Does x times negative 4 get me negative 4x? And the answer is yes. Okay, so then I just have to write what's on the outside, x plus 2 down on the left side. And on top, I have a 3x minus 4. And that is my factored answer. Okay. Hope these videos help. And again, if you guys have any questions, ask on Schoology. I'll post up the video and the assignment tonight. Thanks. Bye, guys.